My name's Quinn. I'm currently updating our 40-year-old house. Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm gonna be working on this alcove. It is in the open area behind the kitchen wall. My plan is to turn it into built-in floating shelves. I made this cute bookcase last year using 4 wooden crates. That was a fun project. If you haven't seen that video, I will link it in the description box below. Please check it out if you're interested. Until now, I still like this bookcase. However, I want to utilize this alcove, and I think the built-in shelves would be the best use of the space. And it would give the space a more custom and high-end feel. So I'll find another spot for this bookcase. This outlet on the wall was not in use anymore, so it needed to be removed. In my last video, I did a full tutorial on how to patch the large hole on the wall. If you haven't seen it and want to learn how, I will also link that video in the description box below. Next, I removed the old baseboard using chisel, crowbar, and hammer. I then used the joint compound to fill all the nail holes and the cracks on the wall. After it's dry, I painted the wall with the Wolfspar brand white color. I measured the height, depth, and the length of the alcove. From there, figured out the number and the spacing of the shelves. Then marked each shelf on the wall with the painter's tape. Once I made up the whole plan, I went to Home Depot to get the lumber from there. According to the depth of the alcove, I decided to go with the 2x12 fir wood, as I wanted to put the books on the shelves, so they had to be strong enough to hold the heavy books. The staff helped me to get the heavy lumber and cut them in the length I needed. I was very grateful for it. I also got the baseboard from the molding section. In the hallway and the entryway, I used the 1x4 for baseboards. This time I chose 1x6. Because the living area has very high ceiling, I thought using higher baseboards would look nicer. I used the nail gun to install the baseboards, and then used the wood plaster to fill the nail holes. After that, I applied a water-based paintable caulk to fill the gaps in the joints. used my finger to smooth it out, and then sand it down before painting. Here, I still use the neutral gray color for the baseboards. It's the same color I used for entryway. Next, I used my sander and sanded all the boards. I started with the 80 grit to remove all the rough and dark spots, then worked my way up to 220 grit sandpaper to smooth it out. After done with the sanding, I used the damp rag to clean off all the dust. Now let's stain the wood. With the many stain options to choose from, this time I went with the Minwax gel stain. Color was walnut. Gel stain is thicker than traditional wood stain. It's almost like a pudding sits on top of the surface and won't drip. As gel stain is oil-based, make sure to wear proper protection while working with it. It's very easy to apply. I just used the foam brush to wipe it on the board, went with the grain of the wood, and wipe it back and forth until it looked pretty even. I then used the soft rag to wipe off the stain evenly across the surface. Depends on how dark you want the color to be. The quicker you start wiping, the lighter color will be. But don't wait over 3 minutes. The gel stain will dry out on the top of the wood. I did 2 coats. According to the instructions, you should wait 24 hours between each coat. After all dry, I sealed it with the 2 coats of polycratic. Before I mounted the brackets to the wall, I cut a piece of painter's tape with the same length of the shelf, and used the level to place it on the wall as the guide for the shelf brackets. I bought these solid steel shelf brackets from Amazon. The rod is 8 inches long with a half-inch diameter. According to the instructions, each shelf will hold as much as 80 pounds when mounted to a stud. I was planning to use 3 of these for each shelf, so it should be good for up to 240 pounds. To mount the brackets on the wall, I needed to use a stud finder to locate the studs behind the drywall. I got mine from Ace Hardware store. It costed me around $25, but it worked like a charm. The one I got can help to locate the edges of each stud, so you know exactly where to mount these brackets. Now is the tricky part on how to trace the perfect drilling spots on the shelves. If you are very good with the measuring tape and are able to make accurate measurements, then you can skip this part. But I'm not good with the measuring tape, so this is what I did in order to mount the brackets perfectly. First, I brushed a thick layer of paint on the back plate, avoided the rod area, then located the bracket on the painter's tape where the back plate needed to be. Used the top line of the tape for reference, and then made a stamp on that spot. Before I purchased these brackets, I read the product reviews carefully. A lot of customers said that the 2 screw holes were too wide for a stud, so I knew that I couldn't drill the screws straight. I needed to drill them towards the center so they could hit the stud. Studs run from floor to ceiling. They're usually 16 inches apart. I decided to mount 3 brackets for each shelf. However, there were only 2 studs on this wall, so I would have to use drywall anchors to mount the third bracket. I bought this 1/2" by 12" drill bit from Amazon. As the post was 8 inches long, I used the painter's tape to mark it down so when I drill, I would know where to stop. After all the 3 steps were made, I took the tape off the wall and placed it on the wood. Here you need to pay attention. The tape should be placed upside down on the wood, meaning the sticky side facing up. I just used the regular tape to secure it on the wood. Although it's not super clear, but I was still able to see where the rod circles were. I also bought this drill block to help me drill straight. It only costed me $7, but was super helpful. I am absolutely in love with how my alcove has turned out. These floating shelves created a lovely seamless look and made a perfect addition to our living area. Just keep this in mind. They can also easily fit many types of decor and many themes and styles. And I believe this is a lovely and stylish way to cozy up our home. That's it for today's video, guys. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.